7. Always connected. When online stopped being a place you went. The prediction, what we thought. By the late 1990s, a powerful idea had taken hold. Connectivity would become constant, not occasional. Not situational, constant. The internet would no longer be something you dialed into or logged onto. It would be ambient, available everywhere, all the time. Messages would move instantly across borders. Information would be accessible from almost anywhere on Earth. Distance, once a defining constraint of human interaction, would steadily lose relevance. In this vision, being connected would become the default state of modern life. The world would be stitched together by networks so pervasive that disconnection would feel abnormal. Whether for work, relationships, commerce, or culture, people would exist inside a continuous digital fabric. Standing in 1999, this prediction carried enormous emotional weight. If the 20th century had been about movement, cars, planes, trains, the 21st would be about presence. You wouldn't need to travel to participate. You would simply connect. Why this prediction made sense in 1999. To modern readers, constant connectivity feels obvious, almost boring. But in 1999, it was anything but. Connectivity was still fragile and episodic. Getting online required intent. You sat down at a specific machine, launched software, waited for a connection tone, and hoped no one needed the phone line. The internet was a destination, not an environment. In 1999, most internet connections were dial-up. Mobile phones existed, but were primarily for voice calls. Email was checked periodically, not continuously. Being unreachable was normal, even expected. And yet, even in this limited form, connectivity already felt transformative. Email collapsed time zones. Early instant messaging hinted at real-time global conversation. News traveled faster than print. Websites made distant institutions feel suddenly close. Even sporadic access reshaped expectations about communication and responsiveness. From that vantage point, imagining constant connectivity was simply extending an existing trend. If partial connection already felt powerful, full connection would be revolutionary. This belief was reinforced by the broader optimism of the era. The approach of the new millennium carried a sense that barriers, geographic, political, informational, were dissolving. The Cold War had ended, globalization was accelerating. Technology appeared to be knitting humanity together into something more integrated and cooperative. Connectivity was not just a technical forecast. It was a moral one. The assumption was that once everyone could connect, misunderstanding would shrink, coordination would improve, and opportunity would spread. The world would feel smaller, but also more shared. Who said it, and where? One of the most influential articulations of this vision appeared in Wired magazine in 1997. In an essay titled The Long Boom by Peter Schwartz. Schwartz, a futurist and strategist, argued that the world was entering a prolonged period of growth driven by technology, globalization, and connectivity. In this future, networks would become ubiquitous, enabling collaboration across borders and reducing the friction of distance. What made Schwartz's argument compelling was its tone. It was not breathless or utopian. It was confident, measured, and grounded in observable trends. Connectivity was treated as infrastructure, something that would quietly expand until it became invisible. By the late 1990s, this framing resonated widely. Telecommunications companies were investing heavily in fiber. Wireless standards were improving. Governments spoke of digital inclusion. The idea that the world would soon be always connected felt less like speculation and more like an inevitability. What actually happened 2000 to 2025? Constant global connectivity did arrive, and then went further than anyone in 1999 imagined. The early 2000s brought broadband, replacing dial-up's fragility with persistent connections. Wi-Fi untethered laptops from desks. Mobile networks evolved rapidly, turning phones into data devices. By the late 2000s and 2010s, smartphones completed the transition. Connectivity became personal, portable, and perpetual. By the 2020s, billions of people carried always-on network devices. Messages arrived instantly. Notifications followed users everywhere. Work, social life, entertainment, navigation, payments, and news all flowed through continuous connections. Being offline became a deliberate act rather than the default condition. Global connectivity also reshaped expectations. Response times shortened. Availability increased. The boundary between work and personal life blurred. Events in one part of the world could trigger reactions everywhere else within minutes. The prediction's core claim, that connectivity would become constant, was not merely fulfilled. It was exceeded. What no one fully anticipated was how psychologically intense this would be. Constant connection brought constant interruption. Global awareness became exhausting as well as empowering. The same networks that enabled collaboration also amplified conflict, misinformation, and outrage. Still, measured against the original prediction, the verdict is clear: the world became always connected. Verdict. Status. Realized. Constant global connectivity is now a defining feature of life in 2026. The internet is no longer something people access. It is something they inhabit. Disconnection is the exception, connection is the baseline. The prediction captured the direction and the scale of change with remarkable accuracy. Why it played out this way? This prediction succeeded because it aligned with deep structural forces. Technologically, connectivity benefited from compounding improvements: faster networks, cheaper hardware, better standards, and massive investment. Each gain reinforced the next. Economically, connectivity created value everywhere. Businesses, governments, and individuals all benefited from faster communication and coordination. Incentives aligned to expand coverage, reduce latency, and increase reliability. Culturally, people adapted quickly. Once constant connection became possible, social norms shifted to expect it. Availability became synonymous with participation. Silence began to require explanation. What was underestimated in 1999 was not whether connectivity would become constant, but how profoundly it would reshape attention, boundaries, and mental space. The network connected the world, but it also colonized time. What this prediction teaches us about the future. This case illustrates how infrastructure predictions are often the most accurate. When a forecast is rooted in expanding capacity rather than changing values, it tends to arrive. Networks grow. Coverage spreads. Defaults shift. Over time, what was once remarkable becomes invisible. But it also reveals a limitation of optimism-era forecasting. Accuracy about what will happen does not guarantee foresight about how it will feel. The future delivered connectivity, but not necessarily the calm or cohesion many associated with it in 1999. The world became smaller. It also became louder. One-sentence takeaway. We predicted a connected world, and got one so connected that being offline now feels like stepping out of reality.